with this plans preview, I'm mostly going to be focusing on Cloud9's group and G2's group because those are the teams that honestly everyone fucking cares about. And then Edward Gaming, we already know they're going to win their group because they don't have any competition as they're going against a fucking hamstring direwolves and that Schernfire isn't able to play the games because he's suspended. And then Infinity Esports, who the fuck, cares about that team? No one knows about that team, and they're likely not going to do good because they're a wildcard team. So, anyways, to go on to first Cloud9's group, I'm not really concerned about Kaboom. I don't recognize any of the players on that team, so I doubt they're even going to be any good at all. But the Japanese team, the LJL team, Detonation Focus Me, they won their summer split with a 9-1 record in the regular season, right? Only ever dropping 2 games actually, with a game total of 19-2. So this team completely stomped the summer split. And in spring, they had a similar record as well, but they lost to Pentagram in the finals. And if you remember who Pentagram is, they have players like Ramune in the mid lane, who was impressive last year at Worlds. You have Yatoru Moyashi, who is an ADC for the team, and he was also impressive. So it's kind of excusable that they lost to that team, but for the summer split, they just stomped everyone, and it was really bad. And the most noticeable team or noticeable player on this team on Detonation Focus Me is Evie. Now he's their top laner who used to play for teams like Rampage and Seventh Heaven. If you guys recognize those names at all, they're like the best teams within LJL's history. Now, this top laner, he mostly plays a lot of Gnar and Ornn, so we can expect those picks out of him when it comes to this play-in stage. I don't think C9 will have a whole lot of problems against this team, but it is interesting to see how dominant they were in the LJL. So maybe there will be a surprise game out of them to maybe take a game away from Cloud9. But as far as the other team within their group, they just definitely stand no chance. Kaboom, I don't think they'll take a game off of Cloud9 anyway, so Cloud9 probably going to win this group with relative ease, but it's going to be interesting when they first go against this Japanese team. And then for Cloud9 as a team itself, they work by a solid top and impact, and he just absorbs this crazy amount of pressure. And then you have Sven, who just either ganks the bot lane when impact is getting hit by a gank himself, or he'll either just control mid and place wards and vision and just play around mid lane's pressure. And then Jensen, he either just straight up outclasses the other mid laner and styles on him, or he roams towards bot side with Svenskeren. So this is basically Cloud9 in a nutshell, and we haven't seen that much of this iteration of Cloud9 because they've been swapping out with Blabber and with Golden Glue. So it'll be weird to see them functioning as a team again with this lineup, because we really don't know how they're going to function because we haven't seen this lineup in so long. So they might just play completely different from the style that we're used to. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they're just going to play around Jensen. And then of course you have Detonation Focus Me. Their entire roster besides Evie is like brand new players. Like Detonation Focus Me is the first team that they've been on. So yeah, I think with the inexperience of the world stage itself, I don't think they're really going to be ready for a team like Cloud9, regardless of maybe the surprises that they can come up with. So I think Cloud9's pretty safe to get out. Now, if we look at G2's group, it's actually quite a lot harder. I think they have a probably the toughest group ahead of them because of Supermassive. Now, if you look back at G2's games in the quarterfinals against Misfits, they looked terrible. It was a really shaky G2, and with like Wonder inting in the top lane because he picked Klepto on GP into Cho, and then he got solo killed multiple times. And it's also strange that G2 had no priority for Rakan or Varus, which are extremely meta champions, especially within North America. But they kind of they proved they could play Urgot, but it just really didn't look like they knew how to play against Urgot, at least in the game against Schalke. And that was mostly due to a lot of macro mistakes that they made. But once even those mistakes were made, it just seems like they couldn't play around the Urgot pick. And it's also weird that EU has a huge priority for Skarner. Like, we saw Skarner in the beginning of Summer Split in North America, but we didn't really see him towards the tail end. So it's very strange for the EU meta, and I'm not sure if they're going to carry that over into this play-ins, but for sure they're probably going to carry the Heimerdinger pick, and it may surprise some other teams if they don't actually know about Hjarnen's Heimerdinger, because it's really, really good. And then also G2 as a team, they function with Jankos just having a lot of pressure. I mean, during his regional run, he would often counter jungle and prevent the enemy jungler from actually being able to do anything. So this is just how G2 functions as a team. They get a good lead top lane through Wonder, whether he's on a carry pick or not. They try and snowball Wonder at least one kill or something, maybe with the Aatrox, right? And then Jankos ends up just counter jungling and facilitating his solo lanes while his bot lane generates its own pressure. So that's how they got through the gauntlet and got to Worlds. But it's going to be a big problem if they run into this team Supermassive, because it's backed by a ton of notable names such as Fabulous in the top lane, Stolmage in jungle, GBM in mid lane. Yeah, that's right, GBM. You haven't heard that in a while. And Zeitnot as ADC and Snowflower as support. Now, I don't know if you know, but both GBM, he played, back in NRG, way back in the day in North America, but GBM and Snowflower, they're both Korean, so they have that synergy, and they can play off of that. But Supermassive, they placed second in the TCL behind a team called Royal Bandits, which is led by Freeze. Yeah, that's right, the ADC from Europe, and Dumbledoge as support. Now, because of playoff seeding, Supermassive, they waited for Fenerbahce in the semifinals and had to beat them to advance. And so this team had a really difficult route just to win the TCL, as they had to face Royal Bandits at the very end. And then Royal Bandits, they only had to face Dark Passage, which the only notable player on that team is Kire. So it wasn't that hard of a route for Royal Bandits, versus Supermassive had to go against Frozen's Fenerbahce. So yeah, it just seems like Supermassive is a much more tested team than a lot of other wildcard teams, because Turkey as a region is just getting stronger and stronger because of the imports that they've gotten from Snowflower and GBM and Freeze even. So they're looking like a actual competitive region, which is why I think G2 are going to have some difficulties in there. As far as predictions, I predict that Edward Gaming are gonna get out, obviously. That Cloud9 are gonna get out, obviously. For the group with Gambit Gaming in there, and Chaos Latin Gamers, and then G-Rex. It looks like G-Rex are the clear favorites, even though I would really like to see my homeboy Diamond Prox get through. But G-Rex just as a team, and their names look really strong just as a roster, because you have players like Stitch, who was the former ADC sub for Samsung back in the day. And then you have their mid laner Candy, who's also a Korean import. And then you have PK in the top lane, which everyone keeps saying that he's actually a pretty good top laner, which, you know, I don't really know. I haven't watched any other games, but it looks like G-Rex are going to win that group itself. Now, as for G2's group, I actually think Supermassive are going to upset G2. I think Supermassive are going to make it out of Group B, and we're going to be all kind of shocked, except me. So those are my predictions. EDG, Supermassive, Cloud9, and G-Rex. And it's going to be really interesting to see the plans kick off. But that was a little bit of background for some of the teams that are coming in, and what I expect, what their play styles are, and just their rosters in general. So it's going to be a good Worlds.